Well, Matthew, I want to take you back and why ice hockey? Could have been rugby, could have been tennis. What was it about ice hockey that made you choose this path?
I wasn't good enough at tennis and rugby, I guess. Tennis is too difficult. I mean, I played a lot of tennis when I was a kid, but those guys are just next level. It's such a difficult individual sport. You know, you have to be the best of the best, and you know, I just wasn't good enough. I was a decent club player, but nothing like you needed to be to make it on the tour. Rugby, I was a decent rugby player, but I had a bit of a hissy fit when I was about 14, 15 and never made one of the selection teams, and the very next day just said, I'm not doing it anymore, pack it in. And then I was playing hockey.
How did the hockey sort of passion start? Can you remember where the sort of inklings were for the passion for ice hockey?
Yeah, of course. My uncle and I are only 8 years, he's 8 years older than me, and we grew up kind of like brothers because his siblings, closest sibling was, you know, maybe 13 years older than him, Joe, his sister. So when you have a teenage sister and you're a young boy, you don't have much in common. And then I came along and we grew up playing together out the streets. And obviously then Joseph came along and we both, me and him, played roller hockey with Stephen out the streets. Then we got my sister Paige involved when she was younger. We used to make her dress up in Gaul in the living room. So Joseph and I got to shoot on her. But that's where it started, in the streets in Cardiff, playing roller hockey. And then the rink sort of was developed, and there was a new thing in town. What's this ice hockey thing all about? My parents took me down, and we all enjoyed the game. And from there, we all started playing. Well, I say we all, me and Joseph started playing, and Paige, bless her, was dragged around ice rinks for the next 10 years.
We'll touch on Nottingham very soon, but it strikes me that, like Cardiff, a bit like Nottingham, there's a real passion. It's in the city's blood, isn't it?
In Cardiff?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they have a really passionate fan base. For many, many years, they had a hugely successful organisation. Then it took a little bit of a downturn, which was disappointing for me as a fan. You know, I was playing here in Nottingham, but the Cardiff team was always good, but not quite good enough to win trophies. And as a Cardiff fan growing up, where you always seen them lifting a lot of silverware, you kind of wanted them to be that way. They're back there now, and over the last, I don't know, call it 7 years, you know, they've been one of the top teams to beat, and they're very difficult, and they've won a lot of trophies over the last, like I say, since the new ownership group came in. So,
what was it like to play for your hometown team?
I probably took it for granted, if I'm honest, because it kind of just happened. And like I said, I was playing rugby, and then a few months later I was playing for the Devils. The team had gone bankrupt, and they needed basically young players who would play for nothing. I was one of them, and I started playing. Then you kind of I did take it for granted. We didn't have very many fans. There was a revolt with the fans in the old ownership group, and you know, I really enjoyed playing. And I remember scoring my first goal. We were 7-0 down. I scored. Me and Phil Hill were on the line, and I forget who the other guys were, but I scored a goal to make it 7-1 and celebrated like it was a game-winning goal in the Stanley Cup. But so I knew sort of then it was like cool, but I didn't really get the full sort of, I don't know, like you say, full feeling about it, I don't suppose.
So let's move on to Nottingham, and it's crazy that you're back, you know, two lots of 10 years with two teams, and we'll delve into that. But what do you remember about coming to Nottingham the first time as a youngster, as someone who was here at university? How did that work at playing and at uni, and how all that panned out?
Well, the first year of university I was in Nottingham, at Nottingham Trent University, again with Phil Hill, and we were both signed to Cardiff, so we would travel back on a Thursday, practice Thursday night, Friday mornings, and play on the weekends. Then Phil left Trent, he finished, he qualified, he moved back. I don't know if he went to Cardiff or went to Sheffield. I was here, and I picked my university choices around teams, or around cities I should say, who had hockey teams. So here, Oxford, Newcastle, wherever else it was. Nottingham was my first choice, and then I managed to sign with the Panthers the following season. And I remember it was finals weekend, Cardiff got knocked out, I was playing for Cardiff. We got knocked out, and I seen Goody up on the concourse here at the arena during finals weekend, and he said, can I have your number, please. Our coach wants it, who at the time was Paul Adey, which is, you know, great. Couple days or weeks later after finals weekend, he called me and I signed, and it was a no-brainer for me. I was university here. Why would I not play here, you know? So it was great, and I've loved it ever since.
Probably touch on coaches as we go on, but how much of an influence did Paul Adey have? Because obviously in those days, you got, as a youngster, you got a lot of ice time and got developed. How was those early days at the club?
They were good. I think obviously it massively helped not having to travel for practice, and I could be here. Again, I probably didn't take, not that I didn't take hockey serious enough, but I was always taught education, education, education. And for up until probably the age of 25, I only practiced once, maybe twice a week, because my university clashed with practice. And then my degree led me into work where, you know, I was working a 9-to-5 job, which of course I can't just nip out the office 4 times a week and practice. So I was lucky to get 1 to 2 days a week practicing then. So that was one of the challenges, but look, it was great. I enjoyed it. And, you know, right from starting with Paul, of course, Paul was a legendary player for the Panthers, or is a legendary player for the Panthers, and he was an excellent coach. And like you said, we only had 3 lines at the time, so there was more opportunity for ice time. And I remember it took me some time to sort of build into a position where I was, you know, playing really good hockey or good hockey. And it came towards the end of the season. I remember in particular in the playoffs, and I think the playoff format was slightly different then, where it was maybe into 2 groups of 6 or 8, whatever it was. So there was more games, and I remember playing with Clarkey, and I think it was Kalmikov, and we really started to click, and I was playing some good hockey. We didn't win that year. I think we lost to Coventry in the final. I remember.
Ashley Tate scored the overtime.
Ashley Tate, I can remember a pump fake to the right, and he slid it in the empty net. Yeah, I was out on the ice for that, so I had my guy though, so it wasn't my fault.
Good memory.
Yeah.
I just want to, you know, we'll touch on sort of maybe the big winning era with Nottingham, but you made that choice to go to the East Coast Hockey League for a short while. What was the thinking to try that?
Well, I mean, unfortunately, as a British player, it's difficult to get off the rock, as Clark used to call it. And it is difficult to get off the rock. You know, as soon as people see the British flag next to your name, all of a sudden you can't play the game, which is not true at all, you know. And I could have just stayed here, and I wish I'd have stayed in North America for longer. But I could have just stayed here and chilled out and what have you. But I wanted to test myself and play in a situation where I was going to get healthy scratched on certain nights, and I wasn't going to play in this position or that position, or I was going to be fighting for a job or for a position on a team, because essentially that's what makes us better as, you know, professionals or as players. And I did that, and I thoroughly enjoyed my time in the States. It didn't work out how I wanted it to for one reason or another. One of them was because of, like we say, guys getting sent down and being healthy scratched, and I knew that going in, you know, so no problem with that. But then in the other location I played, I got injured, and you know, that hindered me a little bit. I had an opportunity to kind of go back the following season. The team I finished with, Johnstown, was moving to Greenville. They protected me, but because they don't sign people till much later in the summer, because their season doesn't start until, say, October, whereas here we start in sort of August, September, I was panicking. It was probably July, and I hadn't signed a contract, and I was thinking, geez, I'm 25, I don't have a contract, and it's not like, oh, it's no problem, I'll just go and sign in the DL too, because not possible for, like I said, you got that British flag next to your name, and you get kind of hindered. So I was like, you know what, I think Corey was the coach, and I called Corey and I said, look, I haven't got a job, have you got any openings? He said, yeah. So, and then I came back. You know, it wasn't a bad decision. I just wish I'd have had the opportunity to carry on playing in North America for a little longer and try to develop. And I think I only played like 30 games in North America because of injuries and stuff. I wish I'd have had a chance to play more, you know.
Do you think it made you a better player by doing that?
I mean, in 30 games, can you become a better player in 30 games? Maybe, maybe not. Difficult to say, to be honest.
Just want to push you on. You're talking about the GB flag, and when people, you know, see the GB flag and the outside perception. I'm really intrigued by that. Getting GB, what you did from the third tier with the GB hat to now second tier to the top flight, how much do you feel that was a vindication of what a lot of people within the game and you GB boys know that you're good enough? Getting to that top flight, how much was a vindication to say, actually, we knew we were good enough and now the world knows we're good enough?
Well, I mean, as a group of players, we joke, and I mean, it was on that the one we beat France and we joked. We had the video of you know, our singing song. I don't know if we can say here, but
we're something and we know.
Yeah, we're not very good, and we know we are. Yeah, but that was a joke between us in the dressing room because we did think we were good enough. We always knew we are humble enough to know that we're not good enough just to show up and win. We knew when we went to Hungary after winning in Belfast that, cripes boys, we could get pumped here and we could go right back down, or we can try, you know, and we could maybe go up. Luckily for us, it was the second and we went up. Was it a shock to us? I wouldn't say it was a shock. It was a really nice, call it a surprise, but that was our target. We didn't go there just to make up the numbers in Hungary and see what can happen. We went there with a view to try and push on and be good, get a medal, and obviously now what medal we're going to get? Gold, silver, bronze. We came away with gold, amazing. Obviously then you turn to the group in Slovakia and you think, cripes, you know, we could just get absolutely hammered here and come straight back down. And if we did, so what? You know, you're playing against the world's best players, you know. But luckily for us, we knew that we were up against it. We dug deep and we stuck to what we know is our strengths and played some pretty good hockey, even when we lost games to, you know, Finland 5-0. That was actually a good game. I didn't play the game. We were only 3-0 down with 5 minutes to go. We pulled the goaltender to try and get a goal on the PP to make a 6-on-4, and you know, it didn't pan out. But they went on to win it that year, I think. So even though we did take some heavy losses, we actually played pretty decent hockey all the way through. Obviously now we're back down, which is disappointing, massively disappointing for us, because we played some pretty decent hockey last year, and you know, we didn't get some of the luck we'd have liked. We had lots of goals winning off our own players in the final game throughout the course of the tournament, but this year we got to come to Nottingham with a view to trying to get back up to the top division, and that's what I think we're going to do.
Go back to Nottingham and the Panthers soon, but just one more question. You know, collectively, what you did as a team and personally, is that kind of one of the best things of moment in ice hockey, to get your nation to the top flight, stay there for 3 seasons? Do you think you can beat that in hockey?
Only if you go on to win it. Even qualifying out of the group stages into the knockout rounds would be it's a heck of an achievement, not just for our nation, for the other nations there. You know, Denmark, or I use Denmark. I don't know how successful they've been at getting out of the group stages into the knockout rounds, but this is a really good hockey nation with guys playing in KHL, NHL, and their job is to get through to the next round, which is just through to the knockout round. So for us, if we can get back there next season, you know, after next season's tournament, that's again a huge achievement for us. To think that we're sort of teetering on being a Pool A nation every year or every other year. Like you said, 5 years ago or 4 years ago, we were in Division 3, people were like, don't worry about them, no problem. And now we're thinking, now our goal is to be back in Pool A. It's crazy, but it's doable if we can, you know, if the boys, and lots of it's to do with health. If we got a healthy squad and we can take our top guys and we can all pull together and do the right things, I think we can do it. Is it going to be easy? No, it's not.
Just want to talk now about, you know, it's so with yourself, you know, the transition you've been between Cardiff and Nottingham. You've been part of so many big Nottingham moments, but I think the one, because we could talk about so many, the Challenge Cups, the playoffs, but the season when Nottingham won it all, how special was that?
It was good. It was really good. The one thing I would say about that season was we were so good. I think we knew from Christmas we were going to win the league. I think we only lost 9 games that season, and I said to lots of the guys here this year and guys before I played with, is winning the league the best thing? For me, no. The Challenge Cup or the playoffs is the best thing, and the reason I say that is because it's a 1-game shootout, you know. When the final buzzer goes, that's it. Whoever has the most points on the board wins, you know. Whereas the chance that I had to win the league here in Nottingham We won with maybe 4 weeks to go, and we always kind of knew we were going to do it. We won in Belfast, which was great because that added some excitement because Belfast were the team chasing us. So that was a huge weekend. We had back-to-back in Belfast, and we won, which did make it special. However, we still had another, say, 6 or 8 games to pick up 1 point, and I was thinking to myself, we're kind of definitely going to do this anyway. It's just a case of when, and that's not being big-headed. That was just the truth of it. You look at the stats. We were a heavily winning team that year. So, but don't get me wrong, it was still really good fun.
Well, that being said, did you realise kind of what it meant for the city and for the club that had waited so long for that Holy Grail?
Yeah, I definitely felt that the next time we played at home. The building for warm-up was absolutely buzzing. So yeah, I did realise that afterwards, yeah. And it's difficult to say, did you realise it before? Because I haven't been part of the fan group who's been waiting 40 or 50 years. I was with the team for maybe, I don't know, let's call it 5 or 6 years at that point, whatever it was, 7 years. So, okay, I'd waited 7 years, but there's guys who play 25 years and never win a thing. So I didn't quite appreciate it until I seen, the buzz of the fans around the rink the next night.
You've been here so long, Matthew, that I have to sometimes struggle to remember that you're from Cardiff because you call this your second home. You've been part of this club for so long. What is it that makes you so at home at Nottingham, you think, and has made you come back more than once?
Well, I mean, I love the city. I love hockey here. I love the fans. It's a great place to play. It's a great place to live. And friends like yourself, we've made friendship 20 years ago, Goody, Simon Moore, all these people, restaurant owners, bar owners around the city, all these people from, 20 years back. So it's cool to, Rocco's. I went there last night. I know Rocco's not there anymore, but I still call it Rocco's, even though it's not Rocco's. And I really just love the city, and it's a great place to be.
And a word about this season and the captaincy, the ultimate honour of getting chosen by your teammates. There's loads of ways a coach can choose and whatever, but to have your peers choose that. I know we've touched on it before, but to have your teammates, vote you in, just tell me how that feels.
Yeah, it's great. But either way, it doesn't really bother me if I am captain or not captain. I think I can still have a role of leadership without the letter on my shirt or with the letter on my shirt. It's cool that the boys see me as the captain. It's great. I spoke to one of my school friends the other day. He said, Maisie, what are you doing becoming captain? You're 38. You should be getting rid of all that stuff now. I said, I know. This is the first time I'm captain at 38. So, yeah, it's great. It's cool. And but either way, if somebody else, there's lots of other leaders who could wear the C. Like last year, Steve was a great leader, just unfortunate he couldn't suit up that much for us. But either way, I'm still going to try my best to lead.
Before we finish, I want to talk about life away from hockey. Some guys plan for life after hockey. You've already started that with your own business. Just talk me through what the thought process of starting that business was while you were still playing hockey.
Well, one, being a professional sports person is boring. Yeah, you've got a lot of free time on your hands. So I'm really active. I can't just sit down. I don't play computer games. I don't really golf or anything like that. So there's only so much lazing about you can do and drinking coffee around the city. So that's one reason. But two, the real reason is it's a family business. So it was obviously started by my dad, many years before I got involved. But hockey doesn't pay like the National Hockey League here. It doesn't pay like football. So I'm not daft enough to think that I'm going to retire off my fantastic elite league salary. So I needed something to back that up with. And what I don't want to do is finish playing hockey at whatever age I am, obviously touching 40 now, and go, right, I'm 40, I've finished playing hockey, I need to go and get an entry-level job somewhere. Not that it matters having an entry-level job, everybody needs to have them, we all need to have them as an economy, but at 40 I didn't want to have to go back to starting again. So I had an opportunity to join my dad's business, then my brother joined the business, and it's been going nicely. COVID kind of helped because it pushed us to be more online, like it pushed everybody to be more online, and as our business has grown, I've moved away from being on site. and basically just do the management of the business from a computer or a phone. You've seen me all the time on the phone, in fact, just before this interview. So I'm lucky enough now that I can move to Nottingham or move somewhere else and be away from Cardiff and still run the business. And obviously, thankfully, my dad and my brother are supportive of that. My wife is obviously supportive because she has to move again with me. Luckily for us and her business is online too. So she runs her tutoring business online, which is great. So thankfully, the people who matter to me the most support me, and we're able to make it work thanks to the World Wide Web.
Do you think when your playing career finally ends, do you think you would think about staying in hockey and running your business, or a bit like maybe David Clark, who has got other stuff? He's still around, of course. Have you made that thought in your mind?
No, not yet. Would I like to stay in hockey? Yes, because I love it. I love the game. I love playing the most, but that's all I've done is play. Have I thought about coaching? No. Have I thought about management? A little bit, because I manage my business. So that's sort of a skill that I already have from managing the building company. Coaching is a very, very difficult job. You've got to manage 20 personalities, if not more. Would I give it a shot? Possibly. I don't know. At the moment, I'm still wanting to play and try and help the team be successful. So until that point ends, and maybe there's an opportunity, then I have to seriously look at it. Have I got a coaching opportunity? Have I got a management opportunity? Then I really need to look at that opportunity and think, yeah, that's something for me, and can I do it alongside my business? Yes, no, maybe. So unfortunately, I can't really answer your question. I guess I'll cross that bridge when I come to it.
Brilliant. Appreciate you joining us.
Cheers, Chris Ellis.